And is that the game that takes us to our halfway point, or we get one more? It looks like one more squeezed in before we officially get over that halfway timer. Again, we take a break at halftime in each of these two longer time controls, the 5-minute and the 3-minute portion. If for some reason you're new to the Speed Chess Championship, but if I'm Bobby, I'm almost disappointed at getting to that break, getting a chance to just collect myself, given how unfortunate this start has been, both on the board and with the internet issues.
Yep, exactly right. I mean, in some ways, I don't think it could have started worse for Fabi, because one of the things I was saying was, especially before that first break, it's like get a win on the board, because it's starting to really get up there in total games without a win in the SCC against Magnus for Fabi. And that starts to get to you. In this match, it kind of started out with, look, there were chances, right? There was that King E7 move by Magnus with Knight C6. Even in this game, or the last one rather, the Benoni, there was a chance playing Bishop takes F4, even after hanging a piece. So he can't be completely disappointed here, because despite everything that's maybe gone wrong for Fabi, he has had his moments.
Yeah. He has had his moments. Will he get a moment here? I'm openly rooting for Fabi now to get his first win against Magnus in the SCC in and I think more than 2 years, actually. For those who missed some of our pregame breakdown, Magnus beat Fabiano Caruana the last time they played in the Speed Chess Championship, and Fabiano did not win a single game in that match. So again, we all want Fabi to win. I think Magnus wants Fabi to win at this point. Like, let's go for Team Liquid.
Yeah, exactly. I predict the winner of this match is going to be someone from Team Liquid. A shocker there. Bishop G5, maybe provoking sometimes the move H6. Then you can gain some time with Queen C1. Also reserving this bishop on C2 can make an appearance on B3 in the future. So there's some pressure to be placed on these pawns, right? You play King H7 to defend H6, then suddenly maybe the F7 pawn needs a little bit more attention. So let's see how Fabi handles this. It's definitely going to be our last game before our break. Not that he knows that, or that's even a 1% thought right now for him. But this is an opening that I think he is pretty happy with compared to the ones that he's been playing so far, like the Benoni. I think he's much more comfortable here. And this, I think, is a big moment. 2.5, 1.5 going into the break, Danny. That's a huge achievement for Fabi based on how things have started.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And this opening is a big achievement as compared to the other few he's had. And again, also the time on the clock. Now, as I say it is even and Fabi lower for the first time. But for the most part in this game, the other achievement has been that Fabi had his first real edge on the clock. And you really like to see him maintain that. So he has a better position. I love how you pointed out the advanced ideas of why the bishops go up and they provoke and then back up. I think that's instructive for viewers to kind of understand some of those grandmaster maneuvers. And now you've got tactics with Bishop B3. You might even try to open up the queenside structure in some positions. Fabi's taken a moment to really think about where he wants this one to go.
Yeah, if you're considering Bishop B3, then the other consideration is, do I want my B pawn in front of that bishop when I play it? You mentioned C4. Could be an idea here, but the D pawn is immediately going to be loose. This is getting wild, as it's actually Magnus who's interested in opening everything up, right? This is kind of surprising, but there it is, D5, and which side is basically more ready to handle the open center? Yeah, I'm actually looking also at so after E takes D5, if you take knight takes D5, there is maybe the move C4 to consider. In some cases, you could just take everything in the center and play from there. But I'm getting the feeling that if everything exchanges, that somehow Magnus's pieces are going to be positioned a little bit nicer. Like the C3 pawn will be weak from the bishop on G7 and maybe a knight on D5. And the queen on C1 is blocking the rook on A1 from going to D1 and occupying the center. So this is definitely a tough spot, and I can understand maybe why Magnus is taking some time here and we do see c4. I just don't think there was an option for d takes e5 there. There was no way that you could just capture on e5, allow Magnus's pieces to take the center. That's like, queens on d8, rook e8. And meanwhile, white is super slow, playing queen b2, rook a to d1. Don't really care for it. So I think that c4 was the right decision. And I wouldn't be surprised if, well, let's think here. Where is this knight going to go? I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if rook b1 happens, or d5 to shut everything down, and then maybe rook b1 to hit the bishop on b7. So I kind of thought that d5 was the move there, but tempted by perhaps a free pawn.
Am I back?
Hello, Danny.
Hey,
you're back. I just
What
had
is going on
a
here?
really
It's not-
long, extended thought there. I just wanted to grab the mic and really, really say my piece.
Hey, if anyone didn't even know I was gone, then that's a really great transition by the production and by Amon Hamilton. So sorry for breaking the fourth wall there. But the world is wild today. I'm also struggling with internet issues here at an amazing studio office we have that I have not struggled with internet issues in a very long time. So who knows what's going on? Me and Fabi are in this together right now.
There you go. Well, the position that you've come back to is actually, I want to say, very similar to the one you might have left in. Slight edge for Fabi. But the moves that have happened to get us here, Danny, we've actually seen big advantages slip and be offered by both sides. I do think Magnus is playing pretty loose today. There's been a lot of opportunities for Fabi so far. In most of the moments where he's had an opportunity to claim an advantage, he hasn't taken it. And those are starting to stack up in my head as missed opportunity. And how many does Magnus realistically offer? Probably less than most competitors in the event, which means if you're passing them up and missing those small moments where they do exist, they're not going to be back.
Yeah, Magnus doesn't give you many, right? As they say. And if you swing at the king, you best not miss, right? You don't want to be in a spot where you look back and had a lot of opportunities. Just to show quickly, because e takes e5 was there. Bishop to c6 by Magnus got out of it. And so the main thing I'm just going to show was that right here, I guess, I was gone. You didn't want to take e5, apparently. Okay. Sorry, showing it to kind of get caught up with the blunder you were referencing. And now where are we at? Fabi still has a little
not so easy now, right? This is a much different position. I was mentioning that it felt like if the center completely opened, that Black's pieces would be situated a little bit better to handle it. So I do credit Fabi for playing this rook a3 to e3. It happened actually by Magnus in the previous game, but rook a3 to e3, really nice activation. That fixes the problem, because I was thinking the queen on c1 is stopping me from playing rook d1. So I'm really bothered by this. And then to get this coordination, I think Fabi has done pretty well here, but still opportunities missed. And we're in a position where the engine is recommending a completely crazy move, knight d3, which means, Danny, because it's not played, there's a big opportunity for Fabi.
Yeah, and the engine goes right back with a blue arrow for white, saying queen e3 is the only way to capitalize on Magnus missing knight to d3. And the point is, if the queens come off the board, everybody, this battery just becomes too much, because the knight is pinned to the rook on e8, and all of a sudden white just has a ton of pressure. I think white is winning at least a pawn after the move f6, and Fabi finds it. No hands there. The queens are going to come off, and I think Fabi might be in a chance to get his first win of the match. Let's go.
Yeah, queen e3 is a big one. Now, it's very hard to not capture on e3, so I think that was more or less forced. You do have this idea of the bishop taking on e5, maybe followed by f4. The one thing there was I was wondering about knight e4 first, with the idea that if the knight moved from e5, Danny, there was knight takes f6, winning that rook on e8. So you had an opportunity to bring the knight in, threaten the f6 pawn. Now, I understand why he did this. It's a great looking knight on e4, but I think, once again, he let Magnus off the hook just a little bit.
You were right. Computer liked your line better. For those wondering what it was Amon's knight e4 first. Just checked over here on my other screen. And now white still has an edge here. That knight is sitting pretty on a beautiful square. But yeah, it's like the rook is so active. And if you're not going to actually target these pawns, how are you really converting on anything as Fabi?
Yep. Yeah, rook e3, rook e6 rather. everything's guarded now, and you can see 20 seconds left. Fabi is, he's got a fine position, but fine is, not really good enough. The momentum, I think, is actually shifting the other way as we see a few head shakes from Fabi. He's got to maintain his composure here to not let it keep swinging.
Yeah, and he's down to under 20 seconds, so his time advantage I mentioned earlier gone, and you know that he struggled with some internet lag today, and so you worry about that. But can he keep up on the clock and on the board? The edge is basically gone.
Yeah, bishop e7 and activating this king. I have to say king h6 for me is a little bit weird because I guess I'm not sure. There's no king g5 coming. I would have expected the king to come in the other way, but this is actually setting up an idea I hadn't considered, bringing the bishop into g5 and stationing it on f4, and then maybe the king can kind of go around the other way.
Yeah, a nice spot for the bishop to guard everything. Oh, no, Magnus is going to go for a different idea, maybe back to your original one. Going to slide the king over, gets into f5. But where do you go next? I mean, it feels like a lot of this is just pushing Fabi on the clock, because how do you get in when the knight is just holding every single light/dark square?
Yeah, there's 5 seconds, so you don't always have to get in. Like, there doesn't have to be an answer. You can kind of wait for a potential blunder. The rooks are tied down to that c-pawn. There's really nothing that will change that, and I don't see any way for the rooks to adjust or for the knight to move. Right, the knight on e4, if it stays there. Okay, there we see a change in the position, c5.
Yeah, now Fabi's saying he might be the one who's still pushing a little bit. Both sides are going to be under 10 seconds here in a moment. I wonder if Fabi will regret not having just repeated the moves there.
Yeah, it's possible. There could be a repetition here as well, but as black, you don't have to take this.
Yeah, but it looks like Magnus is going to, and we do have a draw, which I guess, at least from Fabiano's perspective, you kind of stop the bleeding. You're down 2 games headed into halftime. Not what you wanted, but yeah, it could still be worse.